Hi everybody. In this video, let's play with the screw modifier in Blender to create these variations on a coil or a cylindrical tube that we can use very sculpturally. In this case, I applied a material to make it give it a ceramics, glazed ceramic look. So let's get started. Let's go over to File, New, reload Startup File, and then hit the X key to delete the cube. And then we want to add a circle. So hit Shift-A, Mesh Circle. And go over to the front orthographic view. So hit number 1 on your keypad and number 5 for front ortho. And then we're going to rotate this on 90 degrees on the x-axis. So hit R for rotate, X for the axis, and 90, and enter. Great. Next, we're going to come over to the Modifier tab and click Add Modifier and click Screw. Okay. And okay, next, what I want to do is choose the y-axis, and over here where it says screw, click and drag, and notice right away that we end up with a rather handsome corkscrew here. It's an extruded tube of the circle, actually. To make it smoother, put number of steps, perhaps up to 32, enter. And you can also click Smooth Shading on the left here. Number of iterations is how tall it's going to be. So if we put in number 1, it's going to look like this, and number 2, it'll get taller. Okay, great so far. Angle 360, what the circle has done is taken a full 360 twist here, so you can play with this value as well and see how that would change the look of the sculpture. Render steps, I have it 16. You might as well leave it alone, I think, there. I don't think it makes much difference. Finally, it's pretty thin, and so we'll need to add a material and put it in a box and also thicken it up. So we're going to apply this modifier as it is, and let's see, hit the Add Modifier, then Solidify, and you're going to add a thickness of, according to what looks good to you, 0.1, 0.2, kind of play with it until you see something that you like. Here's 0.1. That's pretty good. Apply. I'm going to smooth that out. So now let's, before we add materials and whatnot, let's zoom out and give it a box to sit in. So I went back to number 1, front ortho, left click to put your 3D cursor below, Shift-A to add a mesh plane. Let's scale it 10 times, so I'm going to hit S and then 10, enter. Pull it up just so that the sculpture sits on it, zoom out, rotate around by pressing the middle, so that's clockwise. So the camera is between us and the object, and head over to object mode to edit mode right here. hit number A to deselect everything. Choose the Edge Select button, which is the middle of the three. Right-click on this far edge, and then hold Shift and right-click on this edge to join the selection to them both. You could zoom out by pulling on your middle scroll wheel. And then we're going to extrude this upward on the Z-axis. So E, Z, and then just pull your mouse, no clicking yet, straight up, and then left-click. Great. I'm going to right-click on the, back to object mode first, right-click on the lamp, and set some properties here. So I'm going to go over to the properties for the lamp, and this reminds me that I want to use cycles render. So at the very top, move that to cycles render, and I'll leave it for a point light at this stage of the game, and take the size up probably to 1. Click Use Nodes, and strength up to 500 perhaps. We'll adjust that in a minute. So let's give it some materials now. Here we are still in object mode. I'm going to right click on the object, click the materials orb in the menu over here, and click New. And instead of diffuse, use principled right here. And the default on the principled gives us a nice glazed ceramic look. So I'm going to leave all these parameters alone. The base color, I'm going to give it a pale yellow. You can play with other colors, and leave the value scale alone. So we're ready to preview this and see how things are shaping up. So I'm going to click over next to object mode, rendered here. And okay, so things are basically shaping up okay. I'm going to give the box a reflective surface too. So I'm going to go back to solid, right click the box. We're still in the materials orb, so I'm going to click New, and instead of diffuse I'm going to go to glossy. And so we don't have a perfect mirror, I want to give it a roughness of 0.2, enter. And let's preview this and see how it's shaping up. So back to rendered, viewport shading. Okay, it's getting interesting. So let's set up the camera now and tweak the light, and then go from there. Back to solid. Hit numpad 0, and let's lock this camera so that we can move around in orbit and pan. So I'm going to hit keyboard N as in Norman, and click lock camera to view, N to disappear that menu, and then click the camera to set up the resolution. We'll make the Y more vertical, like this, and the X perhaps a little more vertical like that, and take your percentage up 80 to 100%. And because we have a lot of reflective surfaces in here, I'm going to take sampling down here on the right, scroll down, render 250 and up, and clamp indirect because of the reflective surfaces. I'm going to put at 1, enter. So let's see here, pan, and let's check this out now for rendered in our viewport shading, and I can see that I want to up the lamp power here. So I'm going to click lamp in the outliner and properties in the menu here, and strength. Let's take that up to 1000 first, enter. That's looking pretty good. The world right now is reflecting a middle gray back into the shadow area. So if you want that to be lighter, you can lighten the world here. If you want it darker, you can darken the world if you like the way it looks. So let me show you that. you can leave it alone. So darker gives us more contrast in the shadow area. Click the color and move the value up, and it gives us a more luminous, lighter effect. So I'm going to bring it down to kind of where it was into the gray range. Excellent. So I'm going to hit F12 and start the render. And let me pause it here because this will take a couple minutes. Okay, so that was quite a long render. It took 16 minutes to render on my computer, but that's because of all the glossy surfaces, as I mentioned. It came up pretty nicely, though. Notice as you zoom in. One thing that I did notice is there are these small facets in the curve, and if you want to get a perfectly smooth curve, what we should do is add a subdivision surface modifier to it. I'm going to hit escape here and go back out here to solid mode and right click on the object and click the wrench for add modifier and subdivision surface, and put the views up to 2 at least, and notice how beautifully smooth that made it. So yeah, consider doing that. And so show me a few views of this. Check out some lighting options, and then go back to the beginning and make alterations to how you use the modifier in order to create several different forms, and just play with that and experiment. So have fun and good luck, and see you in the next video.